my name is Randy and this is a channel that's all about home distillation and brewing. What are we going to get into today? Well, we're going to start a new series today. Today we are starting a new bourbon, and it is going to be Smoky corn bourbon. I just thought it would be, I don't know how I come up with the idea, but I just thought it would be very interesting. So you ought to stick around and check it out. I really want to go from idea to aging, okay? And I want to check all the steps out. And the best I could figure out, I see there's like 16 steps in making this to get this done. So in this video, we're going to do steps 1 through 7, and hope you enjoy. All right, a little bit of homework. Hey, if you haven't got a chance yet to hit that subscribe button down there, please do. It's down there somewhere. Just hit it. It really does help us out. All right, let's get started. Step number 1, the recipe. All right. So, I wanted a bourbon with a light smoky taste to it. Not like a real heavy peat, like let's say Scotch, but just a light smoky taste to it. I thought it sounded interesting. Number 1, the rules for bourbon is it has to be at least 51% corn. All right. So what's the ingredients we want in this bourbon? Well, we want smoked corn, barley, wheat, and rye. All right. So what I want to do is I want to fill out our grain bill worksheet. I'll show you how I fill it out, and then we'll know what the actually percentage, how many pounds of what we need. Okay, so let me get set up and we'll do that. Okay, so let's fill this out. Hope I do this. All right, what the target is what we kind of want. I'm gonna shoot for 1.090. But if I only get 85 or even 80, I would be happy with that. But let's go ahead for 1.090. All right. So the next thing is brew house efficiency. Well, let's say my brew house efficiency is 80%. You'll never get 100%, okay? Next thing is the mash size. Well, we're going to do a 6-gallon mash, right? All right. So basically right here, we want to do is just get rid of the 1. So let's put 90 here. Okay. The mash size was 6, right? 6 gallons. So if we take 90 times 6, that's going to be 540 points. All right, you with me so far? Let me move that on up. Okay, so that's our target point. So 540 is our target points. So we got to adjust that number because of that 80%, okay? So our brew house efficiency, 80. So 540 times the 80% is going to be 432. Okay, so here's our 540. You just copy that down. Okay. So our brew house efficiency points are here. All right. So 540 minus 432 is going to be 108. All right, so now we can make our adjustments. So our target points was the 540. All right, so now we got to adjust up. So we want our efficiency points adjusted, 108. So 640, that equals 648. All right, very simple, right? So to get us where we want to go to get to this number 1.090, we had to adjust our target points up to 648. All right, so what ingredients did we say? We said corn, barley, wheat, and rye. All right. So, now we want PPGs. Well, you could get really stickler with this, but you know what? I don't. And I've averaged all these out there, and they all average out to about 30 points for each one of them. So 30, 30, 30, and 30. Now you can go as much as you want. So the average points is going to be 30, right? So, all right, we're almost done. Okay, so our adjusted target points, right, is 648. 648 divided by 30, the average PPG, points or pounds per gallon. Wait a minute. Points per gallon, I'm sorry. All right, so the total pounds of grain that we're going to need is going to be 21.6 pounds. That's what we're going to need to achieve the 1.090. Like I said before, if it goes down a little bit below, that's okay. Okay, all right, we're rolling on now. We're almost done the worksheet. Okay, so we got corn, barley, wheat, and rye. All right, so all of them, it's 21.6 all the way down. Okay, so here is where we put in the percent of the mash bill. And that's going to be decided on what you want. Okay, so I decided I wanted 60% corn, I wanted 25% barley, I want 10% wheat, and 5% rye. And that decision is going to be, you know, your decision. Just make sure you have enough barley for the conversion. All right. So let's do a little bit of math. All right. All right, for the corn. So 21.6 times the 60%, that's going to be 12 pounds, 0.96. For the 25% of corn would be 5.4. The wheat for 10% is going to be 2.13, and 1.08 for the rye. Now, I always just round these up because so let's say 13 for the corn, 5.5 for the barley, 2 and 1. All right. So now we know which grains and how much we are going to use. This works out pretty good for me. I've had no problem with it. So that is Stillworks and Brewing recipe grain bill worksheet. All right. Okay, so let's get ready to move on to our next step. Step 1, the recipe. Step 2. All right, step 2 is getting the grain ready to use. All right, so what we got to do is we're going to have to weigh out our ingredients. We got to smoke our corn, and that's going to take I'm going to put it on the smoker for 4 hours. All right, so after we get that done, we will have to grind our corn. And what I'm going to do this time is after I grind my corn, I'm going to run it through my regular grain mill, just a little bit finer. We'll give that a shot. So we'll run that corn through there. Then we got to run all of the rest of the ingredients but you make sure you keep them separate. Keep the corn separate from the rest of it. We're going to mill the rest of our grain, the barley and the wheat and rye. Now we can mix those three together, but keep the corn separate. Okay, so let me get going on that. All right, it's going to be a busy day. Okay, step 3, we got, and it's called cooking our corn. Or cooking or gelatinizing. What you want to do is we want to get the starch is trapped inside that kernel, you know, with that hard shell on the outside. So we got to get that starch out of there. So we need that starch to convert over into sugars. So that's the whole idea of it. So, all right, let's get ready to get that done. I do have a pot of boiling water down here. Okay, I put a nylon bag in our new mash tun. This is our very first try for this mash tun. I hope it works out great, but we'll see. So what I want to do is I want to pump over a few gallons of that boiling water into the mash tun. And I'll probably put, you know, three gallons or so in there, enough to, you know, to be able to cover up the corn plus a little bit. I do have a false bottom in here and a nylon bag. All right. End up dipping my water out. Something went wrong with my pump. Well, something else I got to work on. All right, so I got a few gallons of water in here. Basically what you want is enough water to be able to, you know, soak the corn up. It's going to soak in the water, so I just want to pour this in. You know, and try to keep the dough balls out. Oh my God, I smell smoky flavor already. I think it's going to be good. So we want to make sure all the corn is wet. I'm trying to get rid of the dough balls. Because if you got dough balls, they just will not be in contact with the water, which will cook it, and it won't get the starch out. That's looking pretty good. This is our 13, what was it, 13 pounds? Oop, oop, too much, too fast. Just break up the dough balls. Like I said, this is the first run using this new mash tun. I hope it's going to work. Nice smoky smell. Oh, it's gonna be so good. All right. A little bit of stirring. Okay. All right, we got all our corn in there. And what we want to do next is I'm going to set this on 93 degrees Celsius, which is right around 200 degrees Fahrenheit. So it'll start warming up. Right, and put a cover on. Well, let's check our temperature first. Let's check our temperature first. So we're looking right at, okay, so it's at 171, so we want the belt, it's getting hot already. It will, hopefully at 200 degrees or 93 degrees Celsius, it will maintain that temperature and that will cook this corn. And we're going to do that for an hour and a half. Just every once in a while I'm going to stir it, just to help make sure the temperature gets all around. Okay, and I will come back and check the temperature. It is right now, it's still at 172. All right, let's put the lid on for a little bit, and then we'll come back in a couple minutes. I'll keep checking it, and what I want to do is maintain that 200 degrees. It's been about an hour and 15 minutes. I want to give this a stir. And what I ended up doing is I put some high temperature enzymes in there to thin it up because it was just as thick could be. So what I want to do now, well, let me give you a little update on the mash tun. Alright, I had it set at 200 degrees and it pretty much maintained. Well, I guess I could boost that temperature up 175. So I'm happy with that. That corn cooked. So what I want to do now is I'm going to kill the heat on this and I'm going to take it blanket off for a while, and I want it to cool down to about 158 or a little bit less. Alright, and then we'll mix in the rest of our grains. Okay? So let me take the blanket off. Alright, I'm going to kill the heat. That's 247, 202, right there where the thermostat's read. So it's warm. It's maintaining heat. So, alright, I killed the heat. I'm going to put the lid on just in case nothing gets in it. Alright, so once this gets down to 158, what I can do is set this heat to 158, and then we'll get enough time for the grains to take care of. Okay, step 4. Step 4 is starch conversion. So what we want to do is we want to convert all those starches from that corn, which we've already kind of started that because we use some high temperature enzyme to help thin it up. But to finish the job, we cooled it down. It's at like 158. Now we're going to mix in the rest of the grains. So the rest of this grains will do a couple different things. It will convert the starches because at 2-row barley, it has enough enzymes in it, malted barley I should say, it has enough enzymes in it to convert itself plus whatever's out, pretty much whatever else is in with it. So Let's mix this in. Like always, we don't want no dough balls. And if we have to add a little bit of water to it, we can. I'm hoping this new mash tun will hold all this grain. It should. Oop, let me get that stirred in. But with this grain, it's going to actually thin up even more after it gets going. Because what we're after them sugars, right? Because that's what the yeast wants. I might have to put a little bit, it's getting a little thick. Let me just take this warm water. See how that does. Almost got it all in there. This is the fun part. Almost. I mean, that barley and the rye. Well, barley has a couple jobs. Number one, to help convert the starches, and number two is flavor. Oop, I need a little more water. The same with the rye and all that, it's flavor. Now I know with just putting all that grain in, my temperature dropped. Okay. There we go. That's all in. Alright, so what I want my temperature set at is about I'm going to say 152. That should be good. And we're going to sit there and let it do its thing for about an hour or so. And then we can come back and do a starch test. You know, iodine starch test, and see if that conversion is taking place. Okay, so it's been an hour and a half. Oh yeah, got a lot of nice liquid on top. Let's finish this part up, starch conversion. We'll check it with an iodine test. Well, there it is. Alright, so what we want to sample. Get a little liquid off the top. Don't have to be a set amount. And then what we want to do is just take some iodine tincture. You just get this at your grocery store, pharmacy, whatever. Alright, let me bring this over. And hopefully, alright, I'm going to move the camera down. Hey, can you see it? It put a drop in there. See, if there was starch present, it'd go instant black. It's black as ink. But see how it just kind of went back to its original color. Okay, so what that means is that there's no starch present, so it's converted over to sugar. Okay? All right. We are in good shape. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. And now, get these out of our way. Okay, so that is step number 4. Okay, step number 5, sparging. All right, sparging. What is sparging? Sparging is the short answer of the long question is we've converted all the starches into sugars, and they're all trapped in this grain. Okay, so basically we want to just wash the sugars from these grains over into our fermentation bucket and get ready to move to the next step, which would be, adding our yeast to convert it over to alcohol. Okay, so I got a fermentation bucket. I always like to start sanding everything. I just got some start sanding in a spray bottle. It works out good. A little spray, just to help if there's anything in there. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to drain. Remember, we put a false bottom in this, and then we also have this nylon bag. So our first step is to drain off what's in there. I mean, it's got a nice corn looking color. I mean, corn can get pretty thick, and sometimes it's a very challenging to sparge. But a lot of people will ferment on the grain, and that's fantastic. This is just my way. So what I'll do is I'm gonna drain this, and then I'll add hot water to it, stir it, let it sit a second. Do this a couple times until I collect 6 gallons. I'll keep washing this grain off, and I'll collect 6 gallons in my bucket, and we should be good to go. I'm almost got to 6 gallons. What I want to do is just try to pick this up and strain it out a little bit. So I'll just put something right here to pick it up. Take my hoist here. Oop, that ain't gonna do it. It's slipping off. Alright, well. I'll go for wrap it around. Let's see if that works. I just want to pick it up a little bit. I hear it dripping. Now we're at step 6. Step 6 is mash test and adjustments. Okay, well, the very first thing we want to check is, and this is so important because I do get some comments sometimes, and we all forget. But the very important information we need to know for later on is your starting gravity. Very, very important. I can't express that enough. So if I just take a little sample of that, and we are 1.08 1.08, 3 or 4. I'll live with that. 1.083. Let's say 83. Okay. So that should give us a pretty good yield. Alright, so the next thing we want to test is, and this is important for your yeast, is pH. What's our pH? And 5 point, it's going down a little bit. 5.6. You know what? I'm going to leave it right there. 5.4 is perfect, I think. 5.6, I ain't going to mess with it. I have to rinse that. Okay. So that's all for testing that I got to do, okay? And the only other test I would make would be temperature. Well, that comes next. Okay, so let's move on to step 7. Now okay, for step 7. Step 7 is pitching the yeast. Okay, really we only got to check. It has to be below 90 degrees. In this case, I am using Daddy's yeast, which I use that a lot. I had a lot of great luck with it. So what I will do, you could either cool this down with, like, say, a wort chiller if you had one, or what I'll do is I'll just put it in my fermentation room, put a lid on it, put it in my fermentation room, and then I'll let it sit either to later tonight or most likely first thing in the morning. I'll give her a good stir to get a little bit of oxygen in that mash, and then pitch my yeast. Okay, and that will be it for today. All right. I wish I was getting a little bit more smoky. Well, we'll see. I'm getting some smoke aroma off of it. I think it's going to be a tasty bourbon. So, all right. I guess the last thing I got to say for today is, hey, thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you next time here on Stillworks and Brewing. It's going to be a good bourbon. I love bourbon.